Dear CNN, there are very serious topics in the news that all have ties. For example, to from former director of the FBI down, and to relationships through time with shared policing, shared roles with opinionators of fact treatments parted per an organized with roles with an organized crime method that uses verbal federal crimes, juxtaposes natures of it, and then maintained identity of the ground relationships to live aggressions, needing to value those hide those live aggressions, and that's facilitated to more and more natures of crime, originally and still. So we can't tell even our American history without telling them about this organized crime method. Color was one. It's worse than criminal incompetence and rolls with the organized crime method of torture, just that part of slavery with color, by leaving out how they had those laws against everyone, by leaving out the crime method that was using everyone's identity of the relationship to the ground, its identity of relationship to our quality of fact treatment nature. Rhymeless is a scientific value. In identity's identity of relationship to itself, where alpha can only be positive or negative, unceasingly, simultaneously, onto what is discernibly the order to the finite, a nature of volume, the semi-nature of one volume that is simultaneously instant and simultaneously semi. So if you drip the proverbial blue dye into a body of liquid, it's gonna go through it. It's gonna semi diffuse through it. I believe diffusion is supposed to have a like a balloon, and it would come through the hole in the balloon or whatever like that to make to equal out. I believe this is how they define um diffusion. See, but we have. I'll put a link to that in here. But that's see, we have the words since semi-ancient times have been obfuscated, as well as they've been have been revealed better and better. See, now we're going worse too, different ways, because there's not that people making up words and stuff like that. We don't even have resurrected the proper definitions of English. Adam is the subject and Eve is the verb. This is about the nature of value. Those are identities of relationship to the ground. And this is one part of sequence. This is left to right, where how you teach about the difference between the the difference and non-difference between polarity nature. And this is as identity nature's course. And it is evolved the semi-nature coming with this. Not just the physical gifts like children and like elderly gifts. See, we have them in a torture trap simultaneously with VA, simultaneously with poverty, what they call poverty. All victims, fact treatment nature racket. Our nature's real will with dreams in relationship to what can only rely on experts, and they can't discern what is recorded. For example, there's a real short street called Zion Street, right around the corner, not far from the capital of Connecticut, right between New York and Boston. And right at the end of it is where they used to have slaves. George Washington had to leave slaves overtly with color slavery in Connecticut right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. Now, see, there are people that are involved with on-off campuses of each age through time, since before we were born. But I learned this because I learned about how they do this. These are other methods of federal crimes and of uses of them. and of facilitating people together needing to use that. This is what facilitated our side's crime acts roles proven and further recorded in the Trade Center attack context. Not far from Trinity College here. See, this is in the shadow of Trinity College until noon each day. When the sun's just about over, when the sun's over the crow's nest on top of the which is distinct from the crow's nest. They have a crow's nest associated with whatever, I don't know what it is, associated with Trinity. But in other words, like a club or whatever. But the crow's nest I'm talking about is the crow's nest on top of a porch on top of a house, and below it is a field that's now a soccer field or an indoor baseball field. It's a field, and before it was a garden, and they had slaves, and they shot people from that roof from the crow's nest if they would run or whatever like that. But see, this was before that. This was a organized crime method that had nations individually grouped in together as crime tools. From a semi-ancient, all victim predators blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures on other things others than on selves, and not realizing how that's being exploited. See, these are identities of the ground relationships that the subject has the value, that a verb has its value, that space people in outer space have its value. So their identity of relationship to the ground. Humanity has been in an identity of negative value nature progression, effectively breaching organized crime method, maintained self-valued since semi-ancient times. All victim predators where it counts, fact treatment nature. When that this is in direct relationship not only to our fact treatments, but to our needs to counter verbally, peacefully, the organized crime method that our American history is really about. Simultaneously, with as an organized crime method that the other nations that their histories are really about. But they're here. They can't tell what their histories are really about and defend what they were told they were about, because they were told to hide how nations are policed commonly and judged commonly in relationship to fact treatments. And you can't defend that and also at the same time. And nature will continue to demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures in demonstration of it. Acts like predicate acts, which they're using originally and still to keep states and areas the formal stewards as victim predator roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones that originally and still self-valued. So I'm not a lawyer, not a doctor, not a police form. They're recorded with a whole bunch of doctors, forging names, switching names, um, with their family members, with all kinds of natures of crimes, with areas, federal crimes. You know, way worse than harassment. So, and if you call the report because you caught them, see this is also dealing with how we have women roles with things worse than witch trials. We have women judges roles with child offenders. This is per they were facilitated, motivated to it per their crimes leading up to and in the Trade Center attacks, facilitated through criminal uses of the databases of these courts. They don't even know, but then they're just defending integrity as raised another nature of child abuse. Each branch of a government, individually together and grouped. They have divided fact treatment nature. Like we're going to take this topic today. They have physical delusions, sequence shift, styles of convictions of quality of fact treatment nature you can't defend at also at the same time. So Bob Woodruff is being lied to, and or is also worse than indifferent to, and so valuing the world forsaken with CNN, asking question, dishonestly asking pretending not to realize that all presidents are forced to lie. That the people he's pretending to be about truth with are involved with sequence shifts and with federal crimes with a whole bunch of FBI under and before and above since before Mueller. With Robert Luskin's crime acts rules with his lawyer, Robert Chevalier, for example, on Farmington Avenue. A whole bunch of people from my town, intercities facilitated through time, criminal uses of the identity of the ground, on off CCSU, sequence shifting, all kinds of people tied to military. There's a Justin Klavinskas, a whole bunch of people tied to him, Joshua Julian, and a Joshua Julian and a Joshua Stryker involved with all kinds of natures of crimes with kids and with databases and with drugs. And see, they use that to keep what the girls that they're talking to, different people that they get also facilitated as each age. You know how many police forms we have? How many foreign nations we have shared policing, identities, the ground relationships? They demonstrated also how they keep this maintained as their uses of needs to hide life aggressions and of uses of that again facilitated to what is um you know crimes between people that don't even know each other because they're being directed to lie about phone conversations by interbranch forging names, switching names, pretending things recorded by police equipment, putting quotes in it. These are interbranch individually grouped and together misprision. All, so and then they're denying that with overall allegations that they know that they're making criminal uses of the word allegations. See, this is how they maintain criminally foreign influence. So Trinity College was first George Washington University or George Washington College. I don't know how about all the transitions of the names. This was what I heard reported. But this is involved with there's in the news that of the ILO girl. I don't know what happened to her, and but I know that there are other girls. There are a few women with that name Aiello, and they're involved with database crimes, with acting. I never had conversations with one of them. Pretended we basically never had a conversation. They in other words, she was they made up a thing to act, and these are also people involved with crimes with a former mayor Gold, and with a standing with people involved with a Fianza family and men and women associated with them criminally on off the state judicial branch offices with offensive evidence reception crimes, with criminal uses of life aggressions. Their crime acts rolls with a whole bunch of proven child offenders further involved with crimes with various police forms. What they call the intelligence community are a bunch of degenerates. Their uses of each department and each thing of each age of campus is connected. They're valuing what they call the right to lie to maintain the states and areas in collusion with states and areas misprision criminality. You need to hide lie progressions from presidents, especially if they're looking real close the whole time regarding, you know, we have a whole bunch of states. So, but this is leading up to the trade center is what? Trade agreements, quality of fact, treatment nature, acceptations, justifications of that, and then treatments of positive. And that's roles with a crime weapon that's preventing free speech. It's telling people online that they have mental illnesses. They're recorded doing that because they have a there are in other words there because of their roles with gun crimes with this. You guys who have interbranch, forging names, switching names, hiding live progressions. There's ILO family is recorded and confessed with a whole bunch of people with a Kerr family and with a DeMoro family with him. I had nothing to do with them growing up. I only saw him quick context where he tried to film like he knows me. When I look back, I barely know him, Joe Aiello. And he's involved with a whole bunch of people with WFSB criminally involved with them. with fake news crime acts, crimes with federal criminals of all kinds of natures. Verbal federal, they pretended I had a relationship to doctors when I was a kid that never were. I swear to God under oath, I never had a psychologist when I was a kid. They pretend I had mental illnesses. These are the same people that I was wondering, because there was the girl trying to force me, like, when they're going to say important things about, you know, the subject, things like that. They all of a sudden, someone you don't even have a conversation with. That's what they're doing. They're pretending things about boys, and they're doing different against girls. They're keeping each individual group together, states and areas, criminal and seriousness natures, or her. You know, valuing that. It's also how they have cultural. It's also how they have victim predators, physical delusions, because everyone came through this method of child abuse, because it exploits it from off campuses. It exploits the life progressions, kept non-integrity originally and still through time. I just remind. We have New Britain Superior Court with a whole bunch of people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They've been just stacking databases with fake things. They've been they they don't put true things in databases. They're attaching little kids to fake locations, fake conversations with other kids, fake relationships to them through time. With child offenders now, they're caught. Further, since before, they forced the principal sex offender by not letting recorded tied confessions. I didn't even get to the rape threats and stuff like that from interbranch police. Already, they forge and put things in databases. Then they pretend people have mental illnesses with drug clicks with the doctors that forge names, switch names, have federal crimes with a whole bunch of family members of and people as federal criminals, uh, co-defendants, a former director of the FBI in a 2006 case, involved with them since I was a kid criminally. Not, and then they exploited that with their criminal uses of on-off CCSU and on-off Trinity College, on-off UConn, on-off Middlesex Community College, etc. Campuses I didn't even go to. On-off, I didn't go to UConn. I was on the this is involved with a whole bunch of retired and standing judges and FBI involved criminally in New Britain Superior Court, involved criminally with John Mayano. And he's got a brother recorded, confessed, involved with a criminal. It's foreign and domestic, shared policing of stores, crimes with intercampuses, crimes further with with uses of the state, the community center through time. You know, all locations, intercities. These are further on off campuses, intercities, connected to CCP, connected to people connected on off the FBI. Honestly, there's a they brought in a Spada family. There are Spada sisters, like 4 or 5 sisters and a brother, Joe Spada. I'm sorry, you guys, but you know, so they have their boyfriends and their confessions recorded tied to a house on Two Rod Highway with I don't know the name of the girls. They're involved with a Phil Kalo, who's involved through time, involved with 2 Mendez police, involved pretend they had a conversation with me, pretend police equipment recorded it. And in other words, I had a conversation with them all my life. I explained the exception online because I knew they were involved with identity thefts. I don't know the extent of it. I know it's all kinds of, they're involved with other officers since before that, forging names, switching names, mail crimes, wire crimes, drug crime rolls, formal and other with kids, tied criminal uses of the databases in relationship to untimely deaths on and off campuses, real and or made up, regarding the untimely death spots, real or made up. Those people involved with those things are involved with body dumping spots, people associated with a serial killer and all kinds of criminality associated with the body dumping spots reported of Billy Grasso murder with this Kerr family and with this DeMoro family and with their roles with a whole bunch of intelligence people on and off Trinity College, on and off CCSU. with locations there through time used for sequence shifts. They make confessions to people that imply that they know who you're talking about. Like, I don't know this Charlie Bose and or nor his sister's name. She they had in this. She's involved with a Chris Walters also involved with this, and with these names also involved with the town offices criminally through time. Further with the library criminally through time. Further with both spots and locations on and off them associated with the where the police department Weathersfield is now and then. And see now his daughter and the principal child offenders campus that was tied to more then and now worse also further had the police chief's daughter involved with it, and female judges forging switching names, uh, doing that with state lawyers, crimes with private lawyers, fake sides of correlation nature, fake middles, physical delusions, word sequence shift crime roles, evidence crime roles, pretend they're just doing it because that's their job for sides. Trinity is beyond is more than just two sides, and fake middle. So those fake middle, they're preventing free speech offensively, and we're doing way worse. So let's all rehearse, because there's also this is also with a Scalora family recorded and confessed involved with them crimes with Facebook and with other online policing interbranch involved with child sex offenders, criminal crime roles with the same people involved with that, involved with criminal roles with the locations next to body dumping spots that they use for a whole bunch of other natures of crimes. And these are people crimes with a pattern of people pretending that other people have um, mental illnesses. They're just so mean to people online because they're keeping all fakes, because there's a whole bunch of doctors and ones with badges being used criminally by a whole bunch of natures of courts, a whole bunch of natures of police forms, a whole bunch of natures of politicians through time and their family members, all victims, but victim predators, overt predators like this Gold family, who I never had a conversation with. I explained how the girl pretended other these are sequence shift roles. I don't know what she pretended, but these are all people also spreading lies with overt criminal enterprises, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated through time. Crimes with judges retired and standing. A whole bunch of them. No one has time for this. Then they have to lie about wherever I go, wherever anyone goes. They have to make problems. They use their standing influences. These are standing lie progression roles and standing lie progression cover up natures. See, mandated law. Now we need federal stewardships of Connecticut. We have Facebook pretending that they're against behavior different ways. In other words, they're doing that. They're making their behavior crime roles, their identity theft crime roles. These are people that are being interbranch evidence rackets, that are consciously evidence fabrication, sticking things fake in databases, sustaining crime methods on people in whole areas. This is why they have gangs. They're building them. They're needing to hide the same overt, finite, active, sequence, and progressive. There are doctors, foreign and domestic, and medical families associated with and interbranch judges, retired and standing, associated with a Sullivan family and associated with locations around too, with the police. This is the former director of the FBI since before Mueller. So the CNN is involved with election crimes with the FBI. And then they'll torture you and pretend they're just defending an identity that they know is Miss Prizzy in this. It's not personal. They're not fixing the fake news that is recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved crimes with judges. And they're needing to pretend that we don't see the judges involved with them because they want to because they're already criminally involved for uses of fake sides of correlation nature racket. That this is a whole bunch of natures of child abuses. This is a whole bunch of natures of elderly abuses. And I had a conversation one time about ancient history, and then they had a Santos tied to Weathersfield Pizza people, a Maria Fazzino. I don't know the names of her brothers, a John Maiano, and her husband, a Stephen Sacco, recorded and confessed involved with the rest of the child offenders criminally, with other natures of crimes, like drug crime rules, like crimes with, I don't, I'm not maybe the worst ones is with the drug crimes, with the gangs drugs, and the formal ones is a Leahy family and a Lombardo family, and the ones with the fire department. And see, it's not, they're pretending that they need to have experts speak about drugs, but they're criminally doing that because they're exploiting anomaly with their roles with database crimes, originally still exploited from with area, with space, with their treatment, exploited everything. Every time they make a fact treatment, every time they make a sequence treatment, a value treatment, we have no free speech. So we have mandated law. CT is oak. CT is cherry tree, not oak nor peach. Especially if George Washington really said it himself or not. He had to leave overt slavery here. He told the truth. He had to chop down the branches here. Right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, him and the French general, even with their help, he could only semi-counter extort what was here all the way across, already entrenched as a fact cheaping nature racket tied to the ground's value, inseparable, filtered all. Baloney, they say, but lie, standing criminal insidiousness natures are positive, valuing that. So they still have that value in American history. They have the identities of our founder, our real obligations forsaken. Even though it just brings instant evolution. It claims every identity of the ground. The best ones, they're only good through contrast. This is a pathology recorded and involved, forced by no one could speak. Everyone, in other words, that's what it was a fact cheaping nature racket to keep everyone invested before they could have a leverage for integrity of any area. They would be seen and hurt and worse. And then they just kept building that. Each modern nation, because they're building it through other people valuing it, the causes of it, and all that tied to it on other things other than themselves. And note with time treatments, time always too fast, too slow, invested to everyone to pseudo positive, needing to just get along with people in their immediate space. See, but now this is online too, but they have worse than Monopoly. Just fix it, Facebook. You know how many natures of crimes they stole my writing and stuff like that? Different ways they play roles with it recorded. For example, don't take my with this is because then I take it, then I got another account. I should have let that one go. See, because what they were doing though, but I was learning things because there were strangers involved with identity thefts against me. These are police forms that are pretending they have a right to lie. These are people who are involved with the Justice Department, Washington, D.C., facilitated the crimes with each age of fact treatment nature. Identity thefts, using the right to lie for all natures of federal crimes that they don't have the right to lie for. These are people involved with criminal uses of where there are shootings a lot in Hartford, tied to their roles with people. Then they get jobs that they pretend that they don't realize, and they start fights about value and stuff like that. And they're already in collusion and needing to hide lies with the misprision identities of value nature, all fake ties, all fake middles, and exploitations of that. Originally, still every identity of the law, criminal and ceaseless nature it can't be anything, can't defend itself and can't stand free speech with sequence true and it's simultaneously inherent active progressive means. The one way redeems. That shows where means beyond. See, come from and are and as that connects with everything else. See, but we can't even get to that because we're playing through all liars and mandated law, not law followed. These are people on and off the state judicial branch offices. Up the street from there is Maria Fazzino, Stephen Stocko, a whole bunch of people associated with CCSU with federal crimes, foreign and domestic military police forms, with judges retired and standing, involved with. I never knew her growing up. I never knew her until after she graduated high school. Her and this John Maiano were involved with judges and with a whole bunch of people in the Britain Superior Court through time. A whole bunch of FBI, from former director of the FBI down, involved with them criminally, facilitated to it, sequence shifts, all natures of crimes, and with this ILO family, and with all these ties in the news because it's tied to the Parkland reports, real or made up anyway. They're tied to their uses of that kid involved with wire crimes, mail crimes, and then having the FBI identity defended no matter what, used to keep it criminally foreign influenced, used to keep them worse than criminally incompetent, incapable of telling American history, incapable of standing it told, not by accident. You want to know why presidents are forced to lie? You know, if Barack Obama had free speech, will we have offered Connecticut in the pathology that was involved with the fact, cheating nature, torture, and slavery of our founders through time, forced, glorified? No, and that's what's really recorded. That's recorded, keeping that liars to themselves and others manifest that they need to pretend and value facilitated notions like racism. Then what are they doing with that? They're making little kids not have intercampuses maintained on off campuses and sustained on campuses. A whole bunch of motivations, nature's interest, time treatments of quality of fact treatment nature, other motivations, nature needs interest to keep it keep fact treatment nature quality divided. Sequence relationship, it's simultaneous nature relationships worse than obfuscated. It's not how you teach. See, they're just going for their sensibilities for higher ups that are using them perfect world narratives. Oh, these people think differently. They have real hurt people. Quality of fact treatment nature. These are in collusion with the overt criminal enterprises and with the private ones and with interbranch and intercampuses. This is again from off campuses on off them sustained. Not one has trained. So I never had a conversation with them on the campus of CCSU or Trinity College. These were their crime roles in the background. This is a crime method using how they have everyone standing up as sensibilities being played by through time people from former director of the FBI down, people associated with this, a whole bunch of people tied to it as a Violet family and as a Justin Klavinskis and a Joshua Stryker and a Joshua Julian. Even the Coast Guard is involved criminally, even with women. See, they use sensibilities, people, in the nature of the relationship to the organized crimes that we never countered, where it was worse than negotiating with terrorism, tied to the quality of relationships to the trade center. Its value nature relationship to Washington D.C. There are roles with private agreements originally instilled that you can't defend and also at the same time. I just remind they're just juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises. Recorded how kept needed to hide the same finite, active, and progressive lives because of their criminal uses of each branch of government, including the state congressional building around the corner from Trinity. So these are people associated with the name. They use the name Joey Quest through time, also involved with various natures of courts and their family members. Also with Delaferros, involved with people with FBI in New Haven, criminally involved. Foreign and domestic police forms. Roles with negotiations in relationship to crazy bombs and things like that. Those negotiations involve things with psychology. This is where we have communism and capitalism used as for physical delusions, intersciences, sensibilities in relationship to that, whereas how correlation nature needs to stay hurt offensively and or conform everyone to criminal seriousness nature roles in different roles. And they do this with crime methods recorded. There's no Bryan family, and there's a DeMauro family, and there's an Abruzzi family recorded and confessed involved with this grammar school criminally when I was a kid. And then they have people I had nothing to do with in middle school. All exceptions recorded, used to facilitate them to record it, all natures of crimes with drugs, with database crimes, with kids from other campuses involved with criminal uses of the databases and the narratives where they were you know, that's why I never got suspended. They were just making everyone know what they were talking about, not saying anything, making everyone, and then writing whatever they want. They do like a magic trick, making up things that never were. And then who's going to be able to fix the databases? Who's going to be able to live their life? Then they're playing games through people that other sides of the school, you're not even going to see them. These are natures of identity theft that are using a whole bunch of different people that aren't even connected from the same grades. They're controlling their drugs, keeping the branches individually grouped and together, criminally foreign influence, keeping the state police criminally foreign influence, keeping the FBI criminally foreign influence, keeping the state offices, the state on and off the state judicial branch offices, all their identity of the ground, fact sheet nature values, sequence shift tools, breaching tools, screens, natures, fake patriotism. It's not that, no, the species volume longs its voice in depth, then depth, in what is here. The depth alone does not show this. We don't even have, this is really an identity of the grounds, identity of relationships. Adam and Eve are identities of relationship to the ground as natures of volume by the nature of volume. And it has the nature of volume, has the nature of volume's relationship, identity of relationship to itself. That is only one way. And we'll examine this in many pray. It is a semi-nature before the bond of earth. It is a semi-nature as the bond to earth. It is a semi-nature as the value of that coming from that, transferring from what it sacrificed, what it concentrated. So we're going to concentrate to heal the species nature of volume because we're in a semi-ancient trap that came from below us and from before sophistication, and then it built all roles called through your souls. It's very serious to have a guy up there pretending to be about just behavior while CNN's involved with crimes with an intelligence community, originally still with child offenders, with the FBI, whole bunch of ways through time. I just remind. And there's a Scalora family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of identity thefts, crimes with investigators leading up to and in Connecticut district case in Connecticut. and leading up to it in other cases, intercities through time. There were crime rolls with people that had database crimes that didn't go to my school either, but they had there were houses around it, and they went to other schools, and they were involved with drugs, like and with Washington D.C. trade center cliques, criminally involved, like with this Lombardo family, with Walter's family, with a Fred Grouzet. Now these are people involved now with child sex offenders, a whole bunch of child medical offenders, crime acts, crimes with judges forging and switching names, crimes with fake news that stole me to fake conversations that they recorded and confessed to me through this way, not letting me speak and having fake pretend they spoke with me, told lies, pretended I had lied about me as a kid too. No, because they're attaching kids to fake relationships and others to hide the life progression schools and interbranch family members. We have prison cliques and all that tied to them. Intercampuses, families, foreign and domestic, hiding life progressions, hiding how they're involved with federal crimes, with overt criminal enterprises, criminal uses of the of direct and of indirect ties of the witness protection program here, involved with the FBI, will associate with this Fianza family, associated with the body dumping spot, Billy Grasso, recorded and confessed crime confessions. That's why they took my Facebook page again. They make confessions into Facebook that they're not supposed to make. And in other words, and they're also pretending they know me that way when they know that the only context they know me in were their federal crimes. Also with this Dillon family, recorded, confessed, involved with my new and past neighbors, involved with and these are people with through time on and off like a Lena's Pizza and a tiki bar on Park Street. They're involved with all kinds of criminal justice rackets, prison rackets, foreign and domestic families in collusion with all kind of medical cliques, with identity thefts, database crimes. This just reminds. I'll teach each class now. Your game. I'll gather around. Adam is the subject, Eve is the verb. These are identities of the relationship to the ground. I'll gather around. Yin yang. So long. God not saying. Look, give me with mandated law. Get them to one name and see in sequence. You see, that's what they're doing. They're forging names and switching names. You go in front of them, they're using courts to attach you to fake behavior, fake words, fake sequence shifts, fake the switching names, forging names, using time always too fast, too slow. They're doing this because they're sustained crime acts, rules, criminal uses of the sensibilities of everyone, everywhere I lived. And you see, they want those. They want us to have problems with other people because of the sequence shift. Because everyone's liars together differently. So we have to be able to report the sequence shifts. We have to report the judges forging names, switching names, with their police forms, criminally involved, on and off CCSU. Whole bunch of people with a Kerr family. Whole bunch of people with a Corone brothers. Whole bunch of people with Steven Stocco, Maria Vazino, involved crimes with this with one end all the way down the road, Oliveri family, involved with them through time crimes with people with mail crimes, wire crimes, evidence reception crimes, identity thefts, sequence shifts, other natures of crimes with federal criminals that were involved with the Trade Center attack context criminally. These are other motivations, natures, needs, and roles. Keep calm. Oh, that person has mental illnesses and stuff. They were forging names, switching names, pretending little kids to ties to doctors. These are also doctors giving people. One of the people, they use their victims as their predators. They have the victims only going to see doctors with men and women involved with child offenders. A Lombardo family recorded, confessed, pretended I yelled at her. And she did forge names, switch names with other natures of drug crimes with her family too. fire departments, intercities, on and off CCSU involved with this Aiello family. A bunch of girls in a Joe Aiello recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with all kinds of natures of crimes with people with overt criminal enterprises, database crimes, acting, behavior crimes. See, because they're tied to sequence shifts. When they're not letting you report sequence shifts, they're doing overt behavior crimes. They're using the right to lie for what they don't have the right to lie for, because those sequence shifts show a pattern of evidence fabrications, of identity thefts, of offensive interbranch predators, intercampuses predators on mass scale, originally still. Other nations like Mexico and like are recorded confessed involved with the trade center families criminally involved, with the Washington D.C., like a Mavi or something like that. I don't know her, I barely know her. And she's recorded confessed involved with CCSU criminally. And with these are people involved with doctors, foreign and domestic, criminal with people, and then with the only as the only victims help. These are bad people with the campuses. Criminal roles with a whole bunch of people associated with former director of the FBI and a daughter of his involved with crimes with people in sexual circles with this Mike Kerr. Heather Hansen also recorded with other people involved with rapes and stuff like that, and then uses of that for their roles with child offenders, with their family members. Her brothers and her parents are involved with people on Church Street in Old Withersfield with identity thefts, fake conversations with me, database crimes, acting tied to that with areas crimes, because there are judges associated with them in the background from various natures of courts and their family members long criminally involved. There's a Mike Roberts also recorded confessed involved criminally with the database crimes with acting like I know him. I barely know him. In other words, and this Joe DeMauro, I never sat with him at lunch. I never had a class with him. He walked by me in the high school a couple of times, and he said something to one of these girls. In other words, these are the cops associated with the intelligence community, associated with this Joshua Stryker, involved with various natures of courts and their police, and foreign and domestic military, and private and overt criminal enterprises, all criminally acting together through time, and on off the state judicial branch offices, and on off the state prison offices involved with database crimes, involved with sequence shifts, involved with what keeps the identity of ground relationship to correlation, leaving Hartford forsaken. Exactly how it was set up to be. This is why we have right around the corner from, right down the street from the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin's lawyer, Robert Chevrolet, his office. I don't know if it's still there. That location is also involved with a whole bunch of people with fake news crime acts, with child offenders already proven, already further criminal involved with them, with the Dillon family ties to them, with this Mayano family, with New Britain Superior Court confessed, recorded, convert criminally involved. People with Sandy Hook, Newtown, involved with the crimes with interbranch in my town, intercities through time. Again, interstates too, not just Washington and Trade Center. This is worse. These are overt criminal enterprises. Joe DeMauro and the Kerr family recorded and confessed with others, Ray Collo, other people. They're involved with overt criminal enterprises, Latin, Italian, and with judges. Everyone, the judges, and Jeremy Grohl. I never had a class with him. Barely know him. Subby Bajario. Never had a class with him. Barely know him. I never sat in lunch with them. In other words, I only know them through my neighbor and their confessions regarding this. Now, these are people with Sandy Hook, Newtown involved with database crimes with fire departments, criminal uses of from off campuses maintained facilitated collusion, needing to hide line progressions. That's how our directors are maintained criminally foreign influenced. And then they value that. Everyone values getting away with that, in other words. So a whole bunch of people like they're I don't know their names. There are cousins of a Paulzano that are also recorded confessed by people involved criminally with the identity thefts. So, in other words, these are by people facilitated to it. I don't know if they even know about it because they attach. Chris Walters said they used him for as a crime tool with little kids through time. He said that there are people involved with dentists, and there are people that confessed and recorded with both with corners of streets near Paul's. I don't want to say the guy's name because it was my dentist years ago, and that's it. He doesn't live there now, but he said that who's there now in that corner. There's also a Spada family recorded and confessed involved with the judge's family members, various natures of courts, like a probate court associated with a Delafair family involved with evidence crimes with them, sequence shifts, a whole bunch of drug crimes with kids, gambling with them, whole identity database crimes with them. I never had a class with them. They're one of the people. A couple times they walk by and pretend things because that's what they're using. Each age of fact sheet nature maintained fake sides of correlation nature, fake middle, and they're using databases tied to where and how they're using courts criminally by using the areas criminally, using their means still. They have no judicial independence. No, they're victim predators. We have a system that was left entrenched. George Washington did not chop down the cherry tree, the fake branches. Connecticut, not oak nor peach. CT, cherry tree. This is where you had to leave overt slavery. See, they make the debate about it to use that debate criminally because they know it was recorded that everyone was a fact cheap nature slave that had crazy laws. And the worst, they're keeping live progressions. We have identities of titles, too many hundreds of nations, sick fakes at once. So they have, and tied to that frustration overall, that's frustration. We had bombs like that. That's not defense. The defense is setting up the identity of relationship to the ground, or nature's nature of relationship to it itself that no one wants to bring war on themselves. It's not no one wants to bring mutually assured destruction. No one cares about that. They're people desperate nations. That's what the problem is grouped individually and together. There's the nation. We're least of IDs. Humanity. Force space nature transfer. Species coach. Return. If you guys if any nation sets down a platform for the species coach, we send out pamphlets in New York. Please to tell me to who will someone respond and we'll have pamphlets, and the pamphlets will be directions, and every time you guys deliver it, we get stronger and stronger, and we'll make the New York the ancient. We're going to make states and areas the New York game, the Burroughs book. We'll get everyone on the same page, but we'll make another one for the interstates. We'll send out pamphlets. We'll put it online. People will just write it and pass it out themselves, because we're gonna the species longs. We can have taken an identity of relationship to the ground. all gather round to to re, to reveal the means to reveal reliefs. When weight to seize, it hurts not one. Like shadow boxing, you fight those little guy, you can't hurt them. Eh? Eh? Shadow boxing.